Good evening and welcome to the GMRS 1900 Net on this 19th day of May, 2020. This is Mike, WQIP827, and I will be your net control for the evening. Before proceeding with the net, I'm going to check for any stations with emergency or priority traffic. Any emergency or priority traffic, please call in now. Hearing none, if during the net there is any emergency or priority traffic, you are free to break in at any time. The GMRS 1900 Net is a directed net where we discuss matters relating to GMRS and various other topics. While a directed net is in operation, all radio traffic must go through net control. This net is normally held every Tuesday on the Phoenix High Power 550 repeater, transmitting on 462.550 from the White Tanks at 7 p.m. Also is 1900 hours. The net is normally conducted utilizing a national travel tone of 141.3 Hertz. If you do not have that tone installed in your radio, you should do so as soon as practical. Participation in the net is still possible using the regular club tone if you place your radio into monitor mode. All participants are encouraged to use monitor mode during the net to ensure that you don't miss anyone transmitting on a different tone. The GMRS 1900 Net website can be found at www.azgmrs.org and is run by the Arizona GMRS Repeater Club. We start this net by asking for check-ins from our Zello users first. After that, I will ask for check-ins from our RF users. After check-ins are complete, we will pose our topics and ask for input. When you take your turn, we ask that you keep it short, to the point, so that any questions or comments can be properly addressed by all. I would also remind you that when you are through with the conversation, please clear with your assigned FCC call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic before we continue? If so, please call in now. This is WQIP827, hearing none. We will now take check-ins from our Zello users only. Zello users only at this time, please.
WQWI942, please check me in right back out.
Thank you, Chris. I got you in and out. Any other Zello users? Check in now.
Jeff, WQZZ533.
Thank you, Jeff. I copied you. Any other Zello users that'd like to check in? Okay, hearing none, let's go ahead and take check-ins from our RF users. Please check in two at a time with your name and call sign. Please speak slowly, give it a few seconds of pause between transmissions so that I may write down the information.
WQDZ 664, Trish.
WRCM 701, Bob.
Thank you, 664 and 701. Got both of you. Continue check-in.
WRFS 636, Keith.
WRFM 610, Darius.
All right, I copied 610 Darius, and was that 636 Keith?
Affirmative, WRFS 636.
Okay, thank you. Continue check-in.
WRCG 640, Adam.
WRCG 637, Steve.
All right, copied 640 Adam and 637 Steve. Check in, keep continuing.
WRFV 254, Mike.
WREL 486 Les, monitoring only tonight.
Okay, Les, copied. Thank you for taking the time. Monitor only. And I copied 254 Mike. Continue check-in.
WRFN 232, Anthony.
WQZ 645, Gary.
Thank you. I copied 232 Anthony and 645 Gary. Continue check-in, please. Okay, hearing none, we'll check back in just a little bit. Thank you to everybody who's checked in tonight. The topic is repeater etiquette and basically to monitor or not to monitor. I'm going to start off by giving a little bit of background. One of the obvious questions would be, why do we need to use it? Basically, and I'm going to try to keep this in real simple form. Basically, we don't have exclusive rights to any frequencies, so we need to make sure that before we start transmitting on one of our channels that have certain PL tones to it, that there's not traffic already on the channel and using it. Oftentimes, you can tell if you're not if you're using monitor mode. You can also tell by if you've got a busy light on your radio, usually a red color. It will be flashing to indicate that there's somebody probably on the frequency using a tone other than the ones you have in your radio. So in monitor mode, there's essentially two different ways or two different forms of monitor mode. The biggest thing you probably want to know is what button on your radio is actually going to be for monitor mode. Some radios have it identified with an MON. Some you just have to pick it for programming, and you can put it on any of the buttons that you have available on your radio. But it's important to know which button actually your monitor mode is on. So there's really two forms of monitor mode. The one mode that I think most of us use is the monitor mode that essentially just disables any and all PL tones so that you can, on your receive side, so that you can hear any and all traffic that might be on the channel. And with that programming, that feature usually has a momentary selection or simply an on-off. You push it on to turn it on, and then you have to push it again to turn it off. The other form of monitor mode is one also that has a momentary switch and an on-off, and it essentially opens up your squelch to where you hear that white noise static. You can do it momentarily, or you can turn it on and just leave it that way. That is one that wives do not like to listen to. I can tell you that right now. So, with that background, let's get started. And if you have any questions, let's put them out there, and so we're all on the same page. And it looks like I'm going to be starting with 533 Jeff.
WQZZ533. I believe my radio only has the open squelch variety of monitor. I would love it if it had the other version. I'll have to check the manual, but I don't believe it has it. I have a Terra 590 and a Terra 505, But unfortunately, I don't think it has the what I would consider the fancier form, which disables the PL tones. WQZZ533, back to net.
All right, Jeff, thank you very much. And just for everybody's information, and one of the primary reasons that I set the topic tonight is repeater etiquette. Just first off, you probably all saw the email I sent out, and I have to say that there were no complaints from any repeater owners. It was just some scenarios that I listen to. I monitor a lot of the frequencies using monitor mode. Break. Good timing. I got the identifier out of the way. No, I scan and monitor a lot of the repeaters, especially the towers 575. And one of the reasons, and again, there were no complaints made, but that frequency gets used by some locals quite often. And as of recently, I heard 2 or 3 users that basically put it out there that they were monitoring and the channel, which is good. But I heard this put out right in the middle of some conversations that were going on, so it was pretty apparent to me that somebody was probably not using monitor mode and wasn't aware that there was other traffic on the air. With that said, let's continue on with 664 Rich. Any comments?
Yeah, I heard bits and pieces of that original conversation you had the other day, and yeah, I think it was handled quite nicely. My main radio here in the office has a monitor button that does the proper monitor, where you can just either turn off the PL tone, or if you press and hold it, it'll go into open squelch, and you can, it'll defeat the squelch break. My mobile in the car, however, doesn't have that, and it's quite a chore to be able to get into the monitor mode. So I just programmed channel 1, which is the alpha, to carrier squelch receive. So that way I'm always monitoring the channel. And the other channels, if I'm going to be talking on them, I'll usually pop it in the scanner first. WQDZ664, back to net control.
Okay, Rich. Yeah, and that was going to be one of the other, because I know that there's radios out there. I've heard of people saying that there's some that don't function well other than open squelch, and that was going to be one of the options. Is the biggest thing for us is having the necessary PL tone in the transmit, so the repeater will pass the signal on. So if you do have some of those radios, stand by. So if you do have one of those radios, just like Rich mentioned, you can essentially set your receive channel and don't put any tones on it, and that way you can be pretty much assured that you're going to hear anything that comes across. Rich, did you have any other comments before you close out?
Well, quickly, the desk mic for my mobile radio that I use as a base station here has a locking monitor button on it as well. I can just, lock that monitor button down. That's usually down all the time. And then our radios in the cars, when I was programming radios for the police department, we had them set up so that when you picked up the mic, it automatically went into monitor mode. So that way you would be able to hear traffic if there was traffic on the channel with a different PL tone just by picking up the mic.
That's a good one. Yeah, because there's a lot of the radios, especially the Motorola's and Kenwoods, that have that option to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that way it kind of forced them into monitoring. And then the consoles in the comm center, there was a monitor button, but nobody knew how to use it except for me, so I don't think anybody ever did.
Yeah, and also we need to keep in mind that in that type of situation, you pretty much got exclusive use of the frequency.
Usually, yeah, but we did have a couple backup channels that we didn't. So, it was programmed in the console because it was supposed to be, and if you used it, you were golden. If you didn't, well, it was on you.
Awesome. Very good information. Thank you very much, Rich.
Thank you, Mike. WQDZ664, back to net control.
Okay, looks like next up is 701 Bob. Comments?
Yeah, WRCM 701. Yeah, I pretty much program all mine to no PL tone on receive. Maybe I'm just nosy and like to hear what's going on all over the place, but all my radios, I'll keep them open so I can hear anything that's going on, and just keep it in carrier squelch. Other than that, I really don't worry about the monitoring function. I've got a mobile like Rich has, a Motorola mobile, and we're using it as a base, and I don't even turn the tones on that on receive, so I can get everything, which is pretty much the way I've always operated. So, WRCM 701.
Yeah, Bob, very good points on that. There's a lot of I'm kind of the same way. I get it. I understand the receive tone, that it kind of puts yourself on, just certain people are going to get through to where you can hear them. But I'm kind of the same way. There's a lot of the other repeaters other than ours that I just don't put any tones on it because I'm kind of nosy that way too. I just want to make sure that I hear everybody on it. All right, Bob, I didn't, did you clear out?
Yes, I did. I think the tones are nice, but I was just going to say that mostly used for, business or public safety applications. And for our application here, I really don't see much of a point in it. So I'll be clear now. WRCM 701, back to net.
And Bob, thanks very much for taking the time to be with us tonight. All right, looks like next up I've got 636 Keith. Keith, are you a member? I don't recognize the call.
Soon to be member. I haven't filled out the paperwork yet.
Awesome. So you're just trying things out and see how it works.
That's the plan so far.
Glad to hear you out there tonight. Any comments about the topic?
My radio does the same thing. You don't put in a receive PL tone, and the monitor button on it is an open squelch monitor button. But if I don't put in a receive PL tone, I'll know if somebody's on the frequency before I use it. I often listen for a minute, two, before I start talking.
Okay, awesome. So, do you have a ham license also?
Yes, I do.
Okay, that's been my question since it seems like you already know about PL tones and that such.
Yes, I've been a ham for years. WRFS 636, back to net.
Keith, thank you very much, and look forward to seeing your application soon. Thanks for joining us. Darius, how you going tonight? How you doing? You got comments for us?
WRFM 610. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good tonight. Had a pretty good week. As far as my radio, I have the VTech GMRS V1, and that pretty much has an open squelch monitor. You have to hold it. So I don't put any PL tones on the receiving end. So I hear everything. And so whenever I want to speak on one of the repeaters, I pretty much know no one's talking. WRFM 610, back to net.
Well, thanks, Darius, and good observation on your part. That's just one of those situations where it works out best if you don't have the monitor mode that just simply disables it. That's just definitely a way to go. Thank you for joining us tonight. And looks like next up is 640 Adam.
WRCG 640. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for taking the net tonight, Mike. Yeah, so I'm on the Anytone 578 mobile now, and I think like the handhelds, it doesn't seem to have a carrier squelch monitor mode option. It's got the open monitor button if you choose it on one of the programmables. But since they give you 4,000 channels, it's you got plenty of room to put some monitoring channels alongside, so you can have the option. That's what I do in my radio profile. Rick? So for each of the channels that we have in the programming list, I have that channel, and then right next to it, I've got a monitor version that has carrier squelch instead of the PL or CTCSS squelch enabled on it. And what I like to do is when I'm not actually at the radio, when I've just got it on and I'm listening to it in the background, I tend to like to have monitor mode off, because then I don't hear the repeater IDing by itself or any errant 550 or FRS 15 traffic. But I do like to turn it on whenever I'm conversing for the reasons that Mike talked about. WRCG 640.
Yep, thank you, Adam. And yeah, that is one of the things that I'll do quite often. Like I said, I like to have the monitor mode on, and really I don't get a whole lot of traffic. I had some kids a couple of weeks ago that must have been in the neighborhood because they were on 550 and they were exceptionally loud, so I picked them up. But for the most part, usually the only thing I do here is the repeater identifiers. But I've got the radio up at the front of the house, and so most of the time it doesn't seem to bother anybody. Adam, I have to ask, what are you doing with 4,000 channels?
Oh, I'm not doing anything with 4,000 channels, but that's the capacity for the radio. Like I said, there's certainly enough room to do kind of whatever you want with that number of channels available to you. WRCG 640.
All right, appreciate it. I would just hate to keep track of that channel scheme. All right, let's look. 637 Steve, you're next up. Comments?
WRCG 637. I have negative traffic for this evening, and clearing back to the net.
All right, Steve, thank you for joining us. Before we continue on, I'm going to check for any late or missed check-ins. If you'd like to check in now, please come on back.
WQWS 795 missed.
Thank you, Attila. Got you on. Anybody else? Okay, hearing none, we'll continue on. Mike, 254, looks like you're next up. Comments?
Yeah, WRFB 254, Mike. I'm also on a BTEC, so I just have the open squelch M button. You're going to have to excuse my extreme ignorance here, but what is it called when I do just have 550 alpha just on in the background? Occasionally I'll hear some traffic on it. I have both the transmit and receive tone on, but is that not monitoring, or just listening to this conversation tonight? Is this not monitoring?
I guess the simplest way to say this would be in monitor mode. We could be on Tango as we are right now. But let's assume that somebody forgets that it's Tuesday, which I happen to do that from time to time, and I'm still have my radio set on 550 alpha, which has a different tone. The good thing is in running it in monitor mode, we would still hear that person, and hopefully get them over to Tango where they belong.
Okay, or 254. I believe I understand that. So I don't want to take up too much time here, but if I use my own receive code with another handheld, but use the repeater's transmit code, can I do a direct contact to the same person that has that receive code?
Yeah, I'm not sure you'd want to put in your own PL tone, but you could, because most of the members are going to be running the. If we're talking about 550, most of the members are going to be running the club tones. So if you decide to put your own tone on a transmit, you're probably going to miss some of the members trying to get back to you.
Understood. Okay, thank you very much. WRF V254, clear back to net.
Okay, and do you still have the email, or do you have the email address that I sent you the welcome email?
254, yes, sir, I do.
Hey, Phil, if you're confused about it, feel free to send me an email, or I think my number's at the bottom of it. Feel free to give me a call at any time, and we can talk about it.
I really appreciate it. WRF V254.
No problem at all. And there's no such thing as a silly question. 232, Anthony, it's your turn.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Talking to you from the ammo can box, finally. No, you'll have to kind of forgive me. I'm super ignorant to most of it, too. Still kind of learning. So I talked with Adam a little bit today because he's running the same mobile radio that I am. I'm running the 578 break. And just trying to, today I was kind of worried by the email if I was those guys. So if I was one of those guys that did not have it in monitor mode, then I probably talked over somebody. But no, I think I've got a way to figure out to program my channels a little differently again because we have so many channels break. And hopefully that once I get that programmed, everything will be running right and I won't be interfering with anybody.
Yeah, no problem. Like I said, we just the guys on 575 and the repeater owner that actually he heard the conversations as well, and I just reiterated that we were just trying to be good neighbors, and it was something I heard. So because we do have a whole lot of new users that might not be familiar with what monitor mode is and what it does, but I'll tell you the same thing I just told Mike. I think you've got my name and number or email. Feel free to send me an email or call me if you have any questions about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a ton of questions, and as we go through and as I keep listening to the nets, I'm learning a lot. And hopefully, once we can get back together in person, we can ask some of these questions too. But I'll definitely give you a call. And I know that Adam has been super helpful too, especially with the Anytones. Just because that's what I'm running, and I'm really impressed with them, and they're easy to program kind of live, so definitely learning a lot, but hopefully I can get those, I'm going to try programming them tonight and see how it works out.
Awesome, and I'm glad you're finding resources. There's a lot of resources out there on the air that are just waiting for your questions.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. So, I mean, basically the gist of it is just if we take out the PL tones in it, then that's essentially in monitor mode, right?
That would be one form of monitor mode. That way you're going to be hearing any PL tones that anybody hears that are using, that's what you're going to hear. You're going to hear every single one of them.
Okay, great. So, yeah, I'll basically do the same thing. I'll just set up two different channel sets and have the club tones with the PL tones in them, the club frequencies with the PL tones in them, and then I'll have the regular frequencies, the regular repeaters without the PL tones, and that way I'll know which one I'm on pretty distinctly.
Yep, you're heading in the right direction.
All right, thank you very much. WRFN 232.
0.
I'm sorry, I talked over somebody. Unit calling?
640.
640, go ahead.
I just wanted to make one really quick point for anybody who's not super familiar with how the PL or DCS or DCCSS codes work. If you track that last conversation between Anthony and Mike, be aware that, when we're talking about taking out the PL codes, that's only on the receive side for your channel. In order to be able to get into the club repeaters, you always have to keep your transmit settings set to club tones. WRCG 640.
Adam, very good point. Absolutely. Kind of along the lines I was trying to say is, you could change that receive tone or you can take it off. But you definitely, if you change the PL tone on your transmit, it's not going to matter what you got on your receive because you're not going to get into the repeater anyway. All right, it looks like I've got 645. Gary, you're next up.
WQZ645, good evening to the Net, and thanks for taking the Net again, Mike. And very good subject that you've got going tonight. And I've got a Motorola, and have no problem with that because you just have a program button that's for monitor mode. You can turn it on and off. And I like having the option to use either one. And then I also have the Anytone 578 that I'm talking on right now. And it's a little bit different. It's a little bit, because on a lot of channels, but if you can change it and change your squelch mode and turn off the receive tone, but you've got to drill down into the menu and all this kind of thing. So it takes a little bit of time to do that. So, but I do like to have the option on any radio to have monitor mode or to go ahead and have the tone on. So with that, I'll go ahead and send it back to Net. This is WQZ645.
Thank you very much, Gary, and the radio is sounding awesome. You made some good choices with the radio and the antenna movement because it sounds great. All right, looks like I've got one more up. I've got Attila, 795. You got any comments?
Good evening, Mike and the Net. Just telling that I have a Kenwood and I have an on and off monitoring, and usually I check the other channels if anybody is on it. With that, WQWL795 back to Net Control.
Hey, Attila, thank you for checking in. And at least this time you didn't use your ham license. All right, is there any other late or missed check-ins that would like to check in now?
WRFJ362, Ryan, can you check me in and out, please?
Consider it done. Okay, we had about 2 or 3 units right there. Let's try them one at a time.
WQKX652.
All right, any other units out there calling in to check in? Okay, 652, did you hear the topic? We've been talking about monitor mode tonight. Any comments?
We got on the net here rather late. Finally got my radio program this afternoon. I was on the website earlier and got the latest list of frequencies. Name here is Carl, located over in North Peoria. Radio that we're using tonight is Motorola Astro Spectra. So seeing that I'm talking, I'm presuming I got everything right.
You do. You sound good. You doing this from a mobile or a base?
Base station here in the house, and currently we're just running with a mag mount antenna sitting on the countertop. Eventually, hope to get some antennas up in the air.
Well, you put an antenna out there. I'm not sure that you're going to sound any better than you do now. It sounds great.
Okay, well, very good. I've been a member of the group for a while, but this is really the first opportunity we've had. We moved back to the Valley about 3 years ago and finally starting to get things unpacked and getting stuff back on the air.
Well, awesome. I'm glad you got things put away and configured where you could get on the air tonight and join us.
And now that we're up and running, we'll be monitoring more often. That's all I have to offer tonight, but good good topic. And as far as myself goes, I've been in the land mobile radio industry for 40-some years now. So, if anyone needs any assistance on getting questions answered or whatever, happy to assist if I can.
That sounds great. Appreciate you taking the time to check in, and I'll let you clear off if you have nothing else.
No, that's all for this evening. Thanks much, and good evening to everyone. WQKX 652 will be clear.
Thank you very much, Carl. Any other check-ins that we've missed or late before we close things up tonight? Come on in now. All right, hearing none, are there any additional comments that anybody'd like to make before we close up?
645 comment.
I think you beat me to it. Go right ahead.
WQZ 645, and just wanted to mention, Mike, you may have already going to be talking about this, but the meeting we're going to have coming up here in June, our general meeting, is we're not able to have it at our regular location, which is a Denny's, because we can't really confirm that we can use the meeting room under the circumstances. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have a video type meeting, and the information will be sent out to emails to all members, advising you of it'll be on June 20th, a Saturday, 1 p.m., and it will be set up. They'll email you out a link and more information and instructions, just so you're aware. But hopefully we can get a lot of people that can go ahead and connect with the meeting and get a lot of information. And that's pretty much all I have at the moment. We are going to have our AESG Net coming up after this one, so I thought I'd throw that in there too. This is WQZ 645, back to Net.
All right, Gary, thank you very much. And along the same lines, the ESG that's coming up is a great topic. We're going to be talking about handle. We all put out there that we're monitoring. We're going to give some instructions on handling emergency traffic that you may, as an operator, receive from mobile units. So I really encourage some of you guys that have already checked in to just hang around a bit and participate. We've got some instructions going on, and we're going to have some scenarios, so I would ask you to stick around and participate. It's going to be good. Any other late check-ins or other comments before we close up?
WRFU 354, late check-in.
Hey, 364. I copied you. We've been discussing monitor mode. You got any comments about that?
Very late, so I didn't hear much of the conversation, but just got my radio and found out about the net, so I thought I'd get on you to say hello.
All right, I appreciate that. You got quite a bit of static. I can clearly hear what you're saying. What area of town are you?
I'm on a mobile TK863 Kenwood.
All right, well, welcome, and we're copying you everything you said, and hopefully we'll see you back here next week.
All right, sounds like we're having trouble hearing me, so I'll sign off again. WRFU 354.
Okay, 354. Okay, I got you, Michael. Thanks for taking the time to check in. Are there any other units out there that'd like to check in or any comments before we conclude?
WQWZ 299, Brent.
All right, Brent, thank you for checking in, and have a safe drive to work, probably. All right, any other comments before we conclude? All right, again, I'd like you guys to, if you can, hold on over to the ESG. I think it's going to be interesting. This is WQYP 827. I'd like to thank everybody who checked in, participated in tonight's net. Hope to see you or hear you all back here next week. Special thanks goes out to WPRR 517 for hosting the Phoenix High Power 550 repeater. This is WQYP 827, net control for the GMRS 1900 net. Now returning the repeater to its normal operation. Have a good evening.
Good evening. This is Gary, WQZ645, and I'll be your net control for the Arizona Emergency Services Group net. This net is normally conducted after the Tuesday night 1900 net concludes. The Arizona Emergency Services Group, or AESG, is part of the Arizona GMRS Repeater Club. The volunteers in our group, a unified team of licensed GMRS and amateur radio operators, receive training and also conduct exercises to expand their skills. Some of our members have a ham radio license and GMRS. Some just have a GMRS license, and we welcome either one of those. We do always encourage our team to increase their knowledge and training. Those who are dual licensed have an extra tool in their radio toolbox. Now, if you're interested in joining our group, just send us an email, esg@azgmrs.org. The purpose of this net is to perform a regular test of communications equipment, provide training in emergency procedures, and exchange information related to preparedness. All nets, whether for training, exercises, events, or incidents, are directed nets. This means that all traffic must go through net control. In addition, stations should notify net control prior to changing frequencies or leaving the net. And of course, any station may break in at any time with emergency or priority traffic. Is there any such traffic at this time? Hearing none, we will continue with the net. Any station that would like to fill in as alternate net control, please call now with your FCC call sign.
WRCG 640.
Okay, 640, you are in as alternate net control. And now we'll go ahead and begin taking our check-ins. Please check into the net with your name and call sign, 2 at a time.
WQYP 827, Mike.
WQWI942, Chris, please check me in and back out.
Okay, we've got 827, Mike checked in, and 942, Chris, you are checked in and out. And any other stations, go ahead and call in, check in now.
QWR 795 Attila, short check-in. I have to leave soon.
WBL 486 less monitoring only.
Okay, we've got 795 checked in and out, and then we've got less checked in, 486. Any other stations? Go ahead.
WQZZ533, Jeff.
Okay, we've got 533 Jeff checked in on Zello. Any other stations? Okay, very good. We'll go ahead and continue with the net this evening. And I just wanted to mention one thing about the Skywarn Storm Spotter classes. They have another class available from the National Weather Service, and it is a virtual class. So you don't even have to show up. You can just watch it and take the class virtually online. It will be Wednesday, May 20th at 12 p.m. That's Wednesday, May 20th at 12 p.m. And we did send out some emails with a link to that information. Okay, well, this evening our subject is going to be, as Mike mentioned before, it's going to be about handling emergency radio traffic. And a lot of our information is going to be from our course, the Emergency Radio Operator course. And when we get done with talking about the information and answering any questions, then we're going to go ahead and have a short little exercise that should be a lot of fun and informative as well. So let's go ahead and start out here. Now, the purpose of an emergency radio operator, or being able to handle emergency traffic, which can happen at any time. You may be at your base station, you may be in a mobile unit, and hear someone call out with emergency traffic. And why would they do that? Well, there can be a lot of different reasons. Number one, their cell phone may have decided to stop working. Their battery may be dead, and they've got something they need to get through to a public safety answering point, which is a PSAP or 911 call center. They also might be out in an area that just doesn't have cell phone coverage, or the cell phone coverage is really spotty and they can't really get through. And this type of thing can happen. So the methods is to receive a call via, you can receive a call from a GMRS licensed station, an unlicensed station, an FRS radio that doesn't even have to be licensed. And, of course, FCC regulations tell us that an emergency call has to get through. So we either have to do one of two things if we happen to hear a station calling with emergency traffic. One is to stop transmitting and get off the air and give them the frequency. And two is to help them get the assistance they need, or to relay their call to who it needs to go to. And if you yourself don't happen to be in an area with a working phone, then you may need to relay it to another station that relays it on. And, of course, there are many other things that can cause the need to use a two-way radio instead of a cell phone. A disruption of service, a equipment fire at a cell site, even extended loss of power to the telephone infrastructure, damage from a natural disaster, a wildfire, and we have certainly had quite a few of those recently in the valley. An overload of the cell phone system can also cause a problem where people just can't get through the majority of the time that they try to make a call. This is WQZ 645 Net Control. And also computer and system hacking can cause a problem with getting through with an emergency call. In October of 2016, there was an 18-year-old hacker that caused a major disruption in the Phoenix Metro 911 system by spreading a malicious link, which triggered a cyber attack, and people just couldn't get through to 911 during that period of time. So these are just some reasons why there can be a problem. You can always use one of our repeater frequencies, or you can use you can try channel the FRS channel 20, or it's channel 20 on many channelized radios, and it's channel 20 with tone 22, so that's 462675 with a tone of 141.3, and that's again channel 20 tone 22 on most FRS or GMRS channelized radios. So one of the things we want to do is we make the most important thing, and Mike can tell you this is true because I believe he's been a 911 operator as well as I have in the past, and one of the most important pieces of information that you need to get from someone is their location, and I should say the location of the emergency, not necessarily their location, because sometimes those are two different things. So we need to get their location, what the type of problem is, and then we need to determine where they're at, confirm where they're at, and what jurisdiction they're in to call the right agency. And the way that the 911 system works generally is the 911 system goes to the most local jurisdiction that you happen to be in, and it just automatically routes the call to that PSAP or dispatch center, and it really doesn't take you anywhere else that you might need to go to. So if someone calls in for a jurisdiction that is somewhere else, then you can be delayed in getting that call through if you don't happen to have the correct phone number for that jurisdiction. And our emergency procedure has a list of phone numbers for pretty much every public safety agency, police department and fire department in Maricopa County, and we also have another list of the county sheriff's phone numbers for every single one of the 15 counties in Arizona. So those are available in that emergency procedure. And we always recommend that you keep that with you. Make a copy of it, get a copy, and put it on your smartphone, and keep it there so that you have it in at any time. Okay, let me throw it out there to Annette and see if anyone has any questions or comments about what we've been talking about so far. Okay, very good. So what we're going to do tonight, and we want you to have those lists available if you have that emergency procedure, and have those lists available so you can look up the correct number that you might need to call. And of course, this is going to be an exercise that we're going to have coming up here, so we're not going to actually call any of those numbers, but we are going to we want you to, when you hear the emergency, the simulated emergency call come forth, then what we want you to do is respond to that call, determine the person's location, confirm it, determine what jurisdiction they're in and the phone number you need to call, and then go ahead and call back with that information so that we're aware that you have located. If not, that's fine, because this is just an exercise and it's just for training. Okay, 827, this is Net Control. Does that all make sense, or did I forget anything?
Nope. I would just encourage people that when we start the scenario, don't be afraid. Somebody take control of it, just as you would in any real emergency, and let's see where it goes. WQYP 827.
Okay, very good. Well, we're going to go ahead and switch it over to 827, who is now going to run this simulation. And this is WQZ645 Net Control, and this is an exercise.
Thank you, 645. This is WQYP 827. The following emergency scenario is for training purposes only, in conjunction with the Arizona GMRS Repeater GMRS Emergency Services Group Net. I repeat, the following emergency is for training purposes only. Here is our scenario. 827, I have emergency traffic and need assistance. Anybody out there?
640, please come with your traffic.
Oh, thank you. I have an accident that just happened right in front of me, and I need the police called.
Okay, first, could you please tell me your location and the location of the accident, if that's any different?
No, I'm right here. I'm at I-17 and Camelback Road.
Roger that. Is the accident on the freeway or is it on Camelback?
It is actually on I-17.
Acknowledged. And what side of the freeway is that on?
Yeah, I was on my way home. Yeah, my directions are pretty bad here. Oh, I was going northbound. I'm northbound. And we're right underneath Camelback Road, just past the turnoff to get off onto Camelback.
Okay, roger that. I have your information. And what is your name?
My name is Mike.
Okay, and have you had contact with anybody that was involved in the accident?
No, they're kind of shook up. I just told them that I'd get a hold of somebody, and for some reason, we don't have any cell service right here.
Okay, understood. I'm going to go ahead and give the Phoenix Police a call and let them know what's going on.
Okay, thank you very much. WQYP 827, ending scenario 1.
WRCG 640, this is an exercise.
All right, before we continue to analyze that one, we will go into scenario 2. I would encourage somebody else to take the traffic as it comes out. Again, the following emergency scenario is for training purposes only in conjunction with the Arizona GMRS Emergency Services Group Net. I repeat, the following emergency is for training purposes only. This is scenario 2. Hey, anybody out there, if anybody can copy, I need some help. Any units out there? Anybody out there on the channel?
Hello, this is WREL 486, responding to emergency.
Oh, thank you, thank you. I think I've got a building on fire. I see smoke coming from the roof.
What is your location?
We are on the corner of 59th Avenue and Palmyra.
Okay, I've called 911 and help is on the way. Are the people? Have you talked to the people in the accident or in the fire? Are you safe?
Yeah, I'm fine, and there's nobody else around. It looks like the building is closed.
Okay, good. Help is on the way.
Okay, thank you very much. And that ends scenario 2. I will refer back to net control 645.
Very good. This is WQZ 645 net control, and this is an exercise. 486, go ahead and clear with your full call sign.
WREL 486, Unit 1, signing off.
Okay, very good. Yeah, this was a good exercise. I think we will probably have some more of these in the future. 640, alternate net control from net control.
Alternate net control.
Okay, very good. You handled that one very good. Asked a lot of questions. Confirmed the location. The only thing as a critique, it would be probably DPS should have been called since it was on the freeway. And did you locate the phone number for either DPS or Phoenix PD?
That's affirmative. I've located both of them. I thought about that after I said it on the air.
Okay, very good. But that went very well, and these two scenarios were pretty good. They were good starter scenarios. The next ones that we have at one of our next nets might be a little bit more complicated and more difficult to understand which agency that needs to be called. And so I'll go ahead and let you clear.
WRCG 640.
Very good. And 486, Unit 1 from Net Control.
This is REL 486, WREL 486, responding. I didn't hear your last statement. I'm sorry.
No, we're just giving you a call to talk about the scenario that we just had. And you did very good. Got the person's location, which is the most important thing. And the one thing that we do want to keep in mind is that in order to get the call through quicker and have less delays is actually not to call 911 because we don't want to get into the habit of that when we are using a two-way radio, because the caller might be calling from an area outside of the jurisdiction you're in, and they would have to either transfer the call or you would have to call another number anyway. So we want to call the numbers off of the list we have in the emergency procedure and use those direct numbers to call that number. Just like the Phoenix Fire number 602-253-1191 is better to call directly for a fire than to call 911, because the 911 in the Phoenix metro area goes to Phoenix PD first, and then they have to transfer it to Phoenix Fire.
WREL 86, roger that. I understand.
827 for comment.
Go ahead, 827.
I would just like to ask, 486, do you have any experience? I would have expected Les to jump in on it, but you did.
This is my first time. I didn't hear Les respond, and I didn't know if he was on the call. So I'm out and about, and I heard the call. So I didn't hear anybody else responding, so I thought it was the wise choice.
Awesome choice. Yeah, again, that would be my comment, is that you jumped onto 911. Did you by chance know where 59th Avenue and Palmaire was? Did you know what city it was in?
No, I don't. I don't know the area as well as Les does, and so I did not.
Okay. And that was part of the exercise, and I didn't even give you drive, street, or anything. We were hoping that you would inquire whether it was 59th Drive, 59th Street, 59th Avenue to determine the fact that this address was actually in the city of Glendale. But you did well. At least you chimed in and got most of the information. The only other thing is if you were at a base and where you could have gotten the information would be some more personal information, such as a call sign or a name in case you needed to get back with me or furnish that information to the police agency.
REL 486, I respond, roger that. Thank you for the input.
No, I'm pretty impressed that you even took the time out to jump in there. I was hoping somebody would.
Les and I are both first responder type people.
Awesome, and thank you very much. And this is WQIP 827. I'll let you clear out, and we'll turn it back over to Net Control.
WREL 486, over now.
This is WQZ 645 Net Control, and this is an exercise. Very good job there, alternate Net Control, as well as 486. Very good job. And we'll continue these in the future as well. Are there any questions or comments about the exercise tonight?
Alternate Net Control.
Alternate Net Control, go ahead.
So my question is for stations that aren't at a base when a call like this comes in and they're able to take it. I know we talked about not wanting to call 911, but if somebody's not carrying around the procedures manual and they don't know the number for the specific agency they're looking for, is 911 the next best option at that point? WRCG 640.
Okay, very good question. And we try to recommend that they call the direct number. And it's easy to keep a copy of those numbers on a smartphone. We also recommend that. But you're right. The next best thing is to call 911 because eventually they'll be able to get you, either relay you to or transfer you to the correct agency or give you their number. So that is definitely the next best option. This is W645.
827 for comment.
Go ahead, 827.
Yeah, very well put. Yeah, I can definitely see that scenario where at least somebody answered up. At least I got somebody to answer my emergency call, and as long as they're passing it on to at least somebody, if they haven't determined exactly what city it is, they would at least be there to pass on the information via cell phone or something, and they could always ask me, and we could forward that information back to them. WQIP 827.
Okay, yeah, that's a very good point. Any other questions or comments about the exercise tonight? Okay, very good. And we will be having a simplex exercise coming up in the future, and we're going to send out information to everybody about that. We're going to have various locations, actually 5 locations around the valley, and we're going to see how well we can communicate simplex without repeaters in case we need to. So that will be coming up here in the near future. We're also going to be working with the Phoenix CERT organization on some things as well. But especially in certain areas like up in the mountains here in Arizona, there are plenty of areas where cell phones just don't work well. And I have heard of quite a few cases where people have used a radio and called for help, and they are stuck up there and in need of some emergency help up there. So it does happen. So just keep aware of that, and we're going to continue this type of training in the future. The exercise is concluded. This is WQZ 645 Net Control. We're going to check one more time to see if we have any check-ins. Okay, and any more comments or questions for the net tonight on any subject? Okay, very good. It is about time to wrap it up then. I'd like to thank everybody who participated in the net tonight. This is WQZ 645 Net Control, and also thanks to Mike who came up with the two different scenarios that we used tonight. We're going to close up the net, and the repeater is now being returned to normal operations.
645-942.
WREL 486 Unit 1 calling WREL 486 Unit 2.
Unit 1, this is 486 Unit 2. Can you hold off for a second? 942 is contacting 645. Let's let them go first.
Roger that. 486, I can hold on.
Thank you, guys. 645-942.
Okay, I covered you. Go ahead, 942.
Yes, sir. Did you want to run a tone test?
Yeah, we can go ahead and do that here in just a few minutes once the frequency gets clear. And I wasn't sure if you want to do that tonight or not. So we can go ahead and do that. But let me go ahead and clear the frequency for just a second. WQZ 645.
WREL 486 Unit 1 to 486 Unit 2.
WREL REL 486 Unit 1. I am on the way home, passing exit 125.
Okay, thank you. See you shortly. WREL 486.
See you soon. Signing off. WREL 486.
Nine 42645. You ready to go?
Yes, sir. I believe I am ready. Thank you. WQWR 942.
Okay, WQZ 645. We're going to be running an alert tone test. This is only an alert tone test and not an activation.